fight fans? It is fight week, guys. Fight week. Today is Monday, and we are just 6 days away from part three of Triple G and Canelo. Canelo part three and Triple G. Good God, I am excited for this. We've been wanting this for a very long time. I know what a lot of people are saying. I've been listening to all the boxing outlets, all the boxing podcasts. I've been listening and reading all the information. And I've been hearing a lot of backlash towards Canelo mostly. How like, hey, he's waiting for Triple G to be older for this one. He is like, he should have lost those last two and all this other things. Guys, I am a Canelo fan. 100%. I am not going to deny it. I am a Canelo fan, nonetheless. But let's clear one thing out. Canelo did not tell anybody to make him win that first fight. The judges did that. The judges felt like he won. Of course, I even, as a Canelo fan, felt like he lost that first fight. Nonetheless, they gave him that victory. That's not Canelo's fault. He goes in there, he does his job, and the judges go with what they see or go with what they feel. It is what it is. Nothing you guys can stop that. So you guys should really stop hating on him for that first fight. Nonetheless, it's not his fault. It was not his call. And then second fight, Triple G backed up in that fight. We got to remember that. Triple G always wanted to brawl with Canelo. Canelo came in there to brawl. Canelo did not play no games. He's like, hey, you want to fight me? You want to brawl? Let's do this. And let's brawl. So he went over there and he brawled him. He chased him. And that's what happened. Triple G backed up. And that in some eyes of the judges, and I know what a lot of people are saying, well, it's just because he's a favorite. It's because he makes the most money. Yeah, sure. But when you're in a fight and you see someone backing away and not really doing as much as the guy going towards you, then yeah, you have a tendency to want to go into that favor. Now, if he was backing up, if Triple G was backing up and he was tagging Canelo, then I promise you, he would have got that nod. And it was close. And it was very, very close. So this whole thing about Triple G, Canelo possibly being scared of Triple G, I promise you guys, he was never really ever scared of Triple G. No fighter is scared of any man. But the problem is, at the time when that first fight was taking place, Canelo was the name. Triple G really wasn't a super big name. He was going against a few notable opponents. He did the Matthew Macklins. He did the Rubios. He did the Murrays. He did the Rosados. He did I think it was Curtis Stevensons. Some of these guys who were decent names, but not star names. And of course, that's not Triple G's fault. That's not Triple G's fault. He went after them. He was undefeated, and he went after a Daniel Jacobs. Now, that may seem like, oh, we're waiting for him to get old, or maybe you're just waiting for him to build more of a name as well. Because, again, if he would have fought him earlier in his career, I promise you, it wouldn't have been that big of a fight, and nobody would have cared as much. But being the fact that he looks so dominant and looks so destructive, then he would have, it would have been like a different fight. Honestly, we would have went in there like, oh, well, who's this guy? He just knocked out some middleweight. No, Triple G was a name going into there, but then he became a bigger name after he got those knockouts, after he got those stoppages, after he looked so dominant over these other guys. And then we finally saw him against another guy like Daniel Jacobs. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, he was just getting older. No, I think it was because he actually started facing a little bit more contenders. That's what I feel. I feel like he was facing now a top level contenders, because if you put Daniel Jacobs in there with someone like a Curtis Stevenson, Matthew Macklin, a Murray, or a Gabriel Rosado, I think Daniel Jacobs knocks them all out, or possibly stops them, or possibly wins a decision over them. These guys were tough competitors, but I wouldn't put them as like world beaters. I wouldn't put them as pound for pound guys. Daniel Jacobs was actually a very tough fight. So that was very good for him. Nonetheless, also that, you guys got to consider this. Triple G was always a middleweight. Canelo was never really a middleweight. He was at a 54-pounder forever. And then he slowly wanted to build up. He slowly wanted to get into that groove and let his body fill out. Because I promise you guys, if he would have just moved up after like one fight at middleweight, he probably would have got knocked out. He probably would have got stopped. Now, that does not make him scared. That just makes him smart. He wants to fill out the weight. He wants to get himself into that middleweight groove. He went in there against some, I wouldn't say top level middleweights either, if you think about it. He went in there with a Amir Khan, a James Kirkland, a Callum Smith, I think it is, or I can't remember. It was one of the Smith brothers. Don't quote me on that one. And then I believe around that time frame, that's when he finally went after Triple G. He never really. So guys, he really was never ever running from him. One, he needed time to build that weight up, and then he needed time. But then we needed this guy because again, Canelo is a big superstar. Like, why is he gonna face some guy that's almost relatively unknown? I know he faced a lot of other relatively unknowns like James Kirkland, Callum Smith, and all these other guys. Amir Khan does have a bigger name, and at the time he could have faced anybody else, but he didn't. So nonetheless, the stars lined up. They finally got that fight, and what happened. That's how you got the number one. That's how you got Triple G Canelo Part 1. Then you got Part 2. This is a living proof that he was never scared of Triple G because look, it was a draw. And all of us and everybody in the world felt like Canelo lost. Now, if he really was terrified of Triple G, he could have easily said, you know what? You know what? It's cool. I'll wait a while. I'll wait a couple of years. If you wanted to wait until Triple G was old, he would have waited longer. But what now? Because, oh no, it wouldn't have made him look good. So what is it? Is it going to not make him look good, or was he scared? Because you can't have it both ways. Now he's going to put himself in there to possibly lose because it's not going to make him look good. I'm sorry, I don't accept that. I really don't. Not just because he's one of my fighters that I really enjoy watching, but because it literally does not make sense. If a guy knows, there's a reason why an opponent is scared of another fighter. It's because he knows he probably could get beaten by this fighter. So he goes in there, possibly scared, and gets a draw. So you're going to tell me that now he's going to try to put it all on the line again right away, not wait for him to get older, not wait for him to possibly lose. He's going to go in there in the very next fight? No, I'm sorry. You ain't going to convince me of that because that's what happened. Canelo knew right away, like, hey, I didn't get that victory. I felt like I should have got that victory. Maybe he didn't do as good as he wanted to do. He's going to do it again. Let's do it again. Let's Part 2, here we go. And that's what he did. He went in there and he fought even better. I do believe in that first fight, he may have underestimated the size. He may have maybe not trained the properly way. And of course, there was this whole steroid allegation with the bad meat that he had. I think it was in Mexico or someplace, if I'm correct. And then, so yeah, maybe he was a little underestimated of Triple G, or maybe he just walked in there because he did face a lot of undersized guys. He was just preparing himself for middleweight, but he never really faced anybody like super bigger in the middleweight coming into that first fight. So that second fight, he goes in there, he's filled out, he's feeling good, he knows the way he does it, he knows how Triple G hits and what he can do, and he goes in there and he attacks him. He doesn't run away. He doesn't back away. He doesn't fade away. He doesn't try to get anything to where it was going to be advantages on his side. And I got to tell you guys, that shows that Canelo was never ever terrified of Triple G. So I really wish people would stop saying that. And now they're saying the things like, well, he waited for him to get older. No, he did not. Because again, he did want to make that fight. There was this whole construction dispute with that whole DAZN fight that he did want to. When he was under contract with DAZN, they actually wanted to make that fight. That's one. He was agreeing to it, but then Triple G, there was a lot of negotiation fails. You guys got to look it up. There was a lot of failed negotiations that took place. The reason why that fight didn't go down. And guys got to remember, Canelo got that win. Whether you feel like he lost or not, Canelo got that win. So all odds are in his favor. He can fight when he wants to fight. He could call the shots when he wants to call the shots, and he can make the money the way he wants to make the money. And nonetheless, he just did it twice in a row. When you do twice in a row, you're not really super excited to go in there a third time. Like maybe a part of him is like, you know what? If he does it a third time, he possibly will lose because you just trained for this guy. You literally had 24 rounds with one fighter. And you spent, how many years? What we're talking about, 2 years? A year, 2 years of this guy nonstop. And you got that victory. You do want to feel something different. You want to go after fresh meat. You want to go after different challenges. You already got that win. So there's no need to go out there and try to do it again to prove it to other people. He already won. You like it or not, you accept it. So he went after that. He went after other fighters. He went after other victories. He got against guys like Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., Daniel Jacobs. Then he went up to the super middleweights like what was his name? Billy Joe Saunders. Then you got Caleb Plant, and then he went after even Sergey Kovalev at light heavyweight. So this is not a guy that's ducking fights for easier fights. He didn't go after all these other guys for easier money. Maybe Billy Joe Saunders and Caleb Plant would have been a little easier challenges, but the reason why he went after these guys is because they had belts, and he wanted to become the undisputed super middleweight champion, and he got those belts. Now, if he wanted to be a scared fighter and go after an easier fighter, he would never went up to light heavyweight. And I know what you guys are going to say about that. Well, he is a totally different fighter. I'm sorry, but Sergey Kovalev is still a very dangerous fighter. Maybe he was a little bit past his prime, just a little bit, not by a lot. Not by a lot. It's not like he waited 5-6 years later, because he still had some fights. And I don't even want to talk about that whole Andre Ward, what he fought with him. That's a totally different story that we could get into later on down the line. But nonetheless, that is why we are here now. We are here now. Triple G, what was he doing? What was he doing all this time? He could have kept himself busy, or he took himself time off. I know COVID played a big factor in everybody's plans, so it was a lot more difficult and a lot more challenging. But nonetheless, Canelo kept himself busy. Canelo kept himself relevant. Canelo kept himself fighting other people, collecting champions, while Triple G was fighting some, I want to say like lower ranking guys. I honestly can't even name some of the ranking guys that he went against. It's like I would have hoped to seen him in that super middleweight, move up in weight from the middleweight, because you were the king. Triple G was the middleweight king. It was him and Bernard Hopkins. You got a few others in the old timers and such, but yeah, Triple G was the king of the middleweight. So maybe he should move up in weight. But guys, here we are now. And it is going to be up in weight. It is 168 pounds. You got Canelo, Triple G at 168 pounds this Saturday. Guys, I am psyched. I am psyched. But the point of this is I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys think that Canelo was always intimidated by this guy? Do you guys think that Canelo never ever wanted to fight Triple G? Do you think Canelo constantly waited for Triple G to get older? Do you think he was waiting for the right time for all odds to go on Canelo's favor? Or do you think Canelo was never afraid? Do you think Canelo wanted to make more money while fighting Triple G? Do you think Canelo was right by doing both fights right away? Or do you think that he played it smart by doing the part 3 now? Because he had other goals. He had other goals in mind. He didn't need Triple G, because he already did it twice. So he didn't need it. So why would he want to go it again if he did not need it? He didn't want to do the middleweight no more. He wanted to do 168 pounds. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you agree with me. Let me know if you disagree with me. Like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.